have this feeling about customizing the UI interface, and Google has begun to pay attention to the optimization of Android's underlying technology, rather than tune the UI interaction logic as before. On the other hand, users who use HarmonyOS high-end mobile phones will feel more or less familiar with the core functions. Huawei has actually said that before the official release of the HarmonyOS mobile version, some important core functions was split and integrated into the previous EMUI update based on Android development, and returned to HarmonyOS after continuous optimization. Of course, if Google hadn't arbitrarily interrupted GMS cooperation, Huawei might not have made up its mind and accelerated HarmonyOS so soon. Mobile phone version adaptation progress. Foreign media broke the news that in the official version of Google's Android 13, Google adopted a new technology, EROFS super file system. Technology enthusiasts found that this technology came from Huawei. EROFS super file system is Huawei's a file processing tool specially developed for the Android system, which has been the exclusive system of Huawei mobile phones before. Google has publicly blocked Huawei HarmonyOS in the past, and now Google has to use Huawei's technology. Does this mean that Google has made a concession on Huawei? Next you will see. 1. Google publicly stated that it uses Huawei's EROFS technology. 2. Why does Google use Huawei technology? 3. Android plagiarized HarmonyOS. 4. Huawei's great technology, EROFS and ARC compiler. 5. Technology enthusiasts discovered the secret of Google stealing Huawei technology. Google has publicly stated that it uses Huawei's EROFS technology. On May 25, 2022, news that Android plagiarized HarmonyOS's important technology and that Google was going to use Huawei's EROFS really surprised netizens. According to the media, Google, which acquired the first version of Android in the early years and cooperated with the iterative version dominated by a software and hardware company, is ready to force the Android 13 boot device read-only partition to use the EROFS file system technology developed by Huawei. In addition, the AOSP, Android Open Source Project, patch package pushed to Android devices in April 2022 already supports the use of EROFS, Huawei's self-developed super file system architecture technology, to build GSI. Huawei EROFS technology, Google will also use it and Android 13 will also use it. It is worth mentioning that Google forced the use of Android 13 devices, which means that Oppo and Vivo, Lenovo, and Xiaomi custom UI mobile phones will also be used. Why is Google using Huawei technology? In fact, this is also forced helpless. The biggest advantage of Android phones is high compatibility and high degree of freedom. But the disadvantage of this feature is that the way Android system stores files is too fragmented. Friends who have used Android phones will definitely find that there are too many folders on Android phones, and many folders are still blank and useless at all. The overly bloated file storage method not only makes it very complicated for us to find files, and also consumes a lot of memory. Google has also launched some targeted file processing systems, but the effect is relatively general, either the slimming, the classification effect is obvious, or the running speed is too slow. The EROFS super file system can improve the random read performance of the system partition by 20%, while reducing the system space occupation by 14%. In the same type of technology, Huawei can be said to be at the forefront, and Google has a good reason to choose Huawei. Android plagiarized HarmonyOS. Just as HarmonyOS, HongmengOS, has donated the open-source platform, Huawei Technologies developed the EROFS file system architecture, and publicly expressed an open and generous attitude from the very beginning, and it is also open source to the industry. This means that Google can indeed use it for free and integrate it into the Android 13 system to release it as a new technology. Like Google and other technical teams, Huawei Technologies is a contributor to the Linux open-source kernel project. As of 2017, the contribution of Huawei Technologies Linux was as high as 1.7%. In June 2018, Huawei technical engineers demonstrated the new read-only file system of EROFS in the open-source community. Compared with Extension 4, the read efficiency of random data has been improved by up to 500%. On March 26, 2019, at the launch of Huawei P30 high-end mobile phone, the EROFS Super File System, enhanced read-only file system, was unveiled. More importantly, Huawei's EROFS Super File System architecture technology has been officially merged into the mainline by the Linux kernel version 5.4. The Android system was developed based on the Linux macro kernel, and the underlying kernel technology is supported. Google has to accept and default the latest Android 13 to use Huawei EROFS technology. Huawei's great technology, EROFS and ARC compiler. Huawei Technology 2012 Lab and ARC Lab have developed compilers for their communication equipment for many years, and later invited the world's top compiler, boss, Zhou Zhida, who allegedly participated in the development of the ARC compiler technology. Through the ARC compiler suite launched by Huawei, third-party apps can efficiently convert static machine code, which is equivalent to revolutionizing Android's much-criticized virtual machine solution, making the operating efficiency and stability of systems and apps soar. However, the app whose code has been compiled by the ARC compiler also has a small flaw: the app installation package takes up more space. The EROFS file system architecture technology can compress the space occupied by data through more advanced file management, which just neutralizes the problem that the space occupied by ARC will become larger after compiling the app. Today, this technology is incorporated into the Linux kernel, and Android, which relies on the Linux kernel, is also supported at the same time. Tech enthusiasts discovered Google's secret to stealing Huawei's technology. The Google technical team in the United States has not publicly admitted, but the evidence is still digged by technology enthusiasts. In the latest beta version of the Android 13 system firmware, Package Manager was parsed and found two new features, descriptions: Android.software.erofs, Android.software.erofs_legacy. Android plagiarizes HarmonyOS, which proves the excellence and reliability of EROFS, as well as the Huawei that developed EROFS. Huawei's technology is not as bad as Google's Surface, and even better than Google's technology. The point is, for the EROFS file system, Huawei has publicly stated from the beginning that this technology will not be hidden for its own use. When HarmonyOS was open-sourced, this technology was also open-sourced to its peers. Google can use it for free, and naturally it can be integrated into the Android 13 system. When the HarmonyOS mobile phone system was born, some people questioned it as a fake Android. Now Google is citing Huawei's key technologies. Do people who question HarmonyOS feel a little ashamed? In terms of operating systems, in addition to the EROFS file system, Huawei also has many core technologies, such as GPU turbo technology, which can improve the rendering capabilities of mobile phones by enhancing the software and hardware coordination capabilities, bringing users a smoother gaming experience. In addition, Huawei HarmonyOS, the distributed ability, application cross-platform flow ability, system response speed, etc., are obviously better than Android system. Now, Huawei EROFS technology, Google will also use it, and Android 13 will also use it. From the content, we know: 1. Google publicly stated that it uses Huawei's EROFS technology. 2. Why does Google use Huawei technology? 3. Android plagiarized HarmonyOS. 4. Huawei's great technology, EROFS and ARC compiler. 5. Technology enthusiasts discovered the secret of Google stealing Huawei technology. After Huawei was sanctioned, domestic mobile phone manufacturers realized the importance of self-developed technology. Oppo and Xiaomi have launched their own Mariana chips and surging C1/P1 chips, and self-developed mobile phone SoC chips are also in an orderly manner, keeping the core technology firmly in their hands. When the technology and time are ripe, it will follow Huawei's lead and replace the supply of foreign suppliers with self-developed chips. Yu Qingdong said at the launch of Huawei's new folding screen Mate XS2 that Huawei's supply chain has been greatly improved, and anyone who wants to buy Huawei mobile phones can buy them in the future. Recent news shows that the Nova 10 series is about to be released, and the Mate 50 series is coming soon. Coupled with Google's change in Huawei's attitude, Huawei's mobile phone is expected to return ahead of schedule. Here, I also hope that other domestic mobile phone manufacturers can also adhere to the road of self-development, get rid of the current situation of being controlled by others in technology, and make domestic products self-improvement. Thank you for watching.